Hi guys, I'm Jessica Powers with Family First Life Northwest. I'm here with Brad Allan and we're going to talk about underwriting and product placement. So as a new agent, what I see is that most of you try to spend about 80% of your time trying to figure out what to write and why to write it. Which carrier do I go through? What's this going to be? Who's going to say yes? Who's going to say no? In reality, underwriting is probably about 5% of our business, right? So it's really important to have a simple understanding of what steps that you can take to prepare yourself. So that way when you're out in the field, you can feel like the professional that you are and feel confident. So a couple of those are going to be having underwriting grids, the cheat sheet grids with you that are on the mentor site. There's a lot of different places that they're located. Yeah. This gives you quick access to be able to look through based off of what health complications your client has had and which carrier is going to be the best fit for them. Right. There's also going to be height, weight, build charts, making sure that you're getting your client approved in a policy based off of their build chart. It's very important to familiarize yourself with just the simple, maybe the top 10 prescriptions that are prescribed, knowing how to say them simply just so we know, okay, metoprolol or losartan or lisinopril, that way we can have it smoothly run off of our tongue. Also, if you come across a prescription that you don't know, it's okay. There's what's WebMD or Google. You can go ahead and just take a look to see what is this prescription prescribed for? Is it really for sleep or is it really for something else, right? Sure. Having those few tips and tricks on you, understanding and familiarizing yourself with the knockout questions, because what you can do is look at the questions of your apps, right? Americo being our number one, right? Looking at those few questions. Can you answer no to all those questions? Are there any health concerns that are on that grid that are going to deter us from going Americo? What route are we going to go, right? Yeah. What I find is if you keep this simple, right? We are a broker, we've got several carriers, but if we keep it to simple, a few carriers, and have a sequence that we go through, we can go into the home confident and calm, knowing that we're going to know what best way to go ahead, what we're going to place our clients with, right?
Sure.
We want to make sure that we have the phone numbers of a couple people that can gonna be our phone a friend, right? The person who's hired you, another agent, where we can use to have that guidance and that mentorship, right? And setting it up in the home at that time, right? I'm gonna go ahead and reach out to my senior underwriter, just get a second opinion, make sure that they're on the same path that I am. Right. I know where I want to go, but I want to make sure. Yep. Even if you don't, it's okay, right? But expressing that confidence.
Exactly.
Now, we've gone through, we ask the questions, we take a look at our grid, we phone a friend, etc. But Brad, when you're a new agent or you're talking to your new agents,
sure.
How do you advise them as far as for product placement? Are there any pro tips that you can give, things that can help us new agents go in the field feeling confident?
Yeah. So what I tell my new agents is people may want what they want, but it's our job to get them insured. So sometimes it's different between what someone can qualify for or can afford versus what it is that they think that they would want.
Right.
So you're right. You're absolutely right. 5% of the business is the product because our products are pretty simple. I mean, there's term, there's whole life, there's universal, and there's some flavors of, adding stuff, not adding stuff. But there's always a process of going through of you want to find out immediately in the house what they can qualify for. That's why we always say Americo first, because there's an instant feedback. Getting back in a house is not the easiest thing. I mean, when you're first starting, I've heard it countless times. I used to say it. Oh, I'm going back in that house. You're probably not. Chances are you will not be going back in that house. So it's critical that you find out what somebody actually can qualify for when you're there. So with the Americo products, whether it be whole life or term, we find out instantly. And then to Jessica, your point, we can then pivot to something else based on advice from someone else on the team or a guide or something like that. That's what I would do.
Perfect. Now, Brad, do you have a couple pro tips or things like that are commonalities, right? Because when we're dealing with the public, with people, there's not a lot of surprises, right? Especially when you're dealing with the final expense market. There's very specific commonalities that we can expect as far as for our health stuff.
Yes.
Is there any tips that you can give as a new agent of just little, let me have these little notes for myself. That way, when I'm sitting down with Mary, I can think, oh, right, Brad and Jessica told me this, and
right.
this is where I'm going to go.
Sure. So I think that your tip on having the paper apps with them when they start is a huge thing for two reasons. Number one, maybe they don't have internet access, and then they're going to have to try to get back in that house because they can't get out to the e-app to write the e-app. That happens. Right? The other, and probably the more common, is they don't know what the knockout questions are, and they're right there. So for the final expense, I think it's really when you do the financial inventory and you find out what do you make, what do you spend, what's left over, I ask the question every time, are you a saver? Because I want to find out, can they afford it? And if they're a saver, then they're planful and they want to either have income replacement or something left behind for someone else. And I'm getting an idea about budget. So when I'm placing something, I'm not placing them into a product that they can't afford. So there's really two components. Can you qualify? So you want to find out immediately, and can you continue to make the payments? Because it makes no sense for somebody to make a payment or two and then cancel. So I always tell people, we're going to keep this somewhere between 10 and 15% of your discretionary income. What do you make? What do you spend? What's left over? What's 10 to 15% of that number? That's what I see everyone else do. Let's find out if they will take you, then we know what your number will be. Because if they don't take you, it's not your number. And that overcomes the objection of the think about it, because we hear, I'll think about it, great, now I know the price, and I'll call you. Well, they probably won't call us, and it's not even their number until it is. But if you say, oh, great, I think you're going to qualify, and look, you've got all this discretionary income, just because people have discretionary doesn't mean they want to spend it. So when it comes to placement, finding something that's in their range they qualify for, huge.
Perfect. All right, that's awesome. I think that's great information, because underwriting isn't just what health questions, right? We're the fact finders. We're figuring out what our client can qualify for, what they can afford, because our goal is to make sure that we put our clients in what's going to help them in the long run, right? And help their families.
Absolutely.
So I hope you guys took a lot out of this. Again, make sure you've got the underwriting grids. Make sure that you act now. Don't hold off on getting on the phones, getting your leads, getting in the home and going on your appointments, because with the tools that are accessible to you, you will be successful. You're going to learn along this way, and you have a lot of support that's going to help you get where you're trying to go.